All right, so as Democrats are still on track to get absolutely shellacked in the 2022 midterms, former President Barack Obama decided that it would be the perfect time to come in and give his take on where the problems with the current state of the Democratic Party actually lie. And unsurprisingly, as most corporate Democrats like to do, he finds no problem with Joe Manchin or Kyrsten Sinema or any other of the right-wing corporate ghouls that have been tanking Biden's agenda. His problem is with the leftists who are calling for some of the most popular policies that exist within the country. So, to say the least, this is pretty much the exact precise opposite lesson that Democrats should be taking right now, given the political context. But let's just go ahead and get into what this absolute neoliberal ghoul had to say about the current situation. So, from Punchbowl News, presented by none other than Blackstone, unsurprisingly, because, this is pretty much the rhetoric that Blackstone would be asking somebody like Obama to be preaching right now. But here's what he had to say. They say, former President Barack Obama told House Democrats on a private conference call this afternoon that the party should take the wins you can get, and said it doesn't help to whine about the stuff you can't change. And he says this is a nod to, well, everything that has happened to Democrats in the last year as they struggle to pass the Build Back Better Act. So again, remind me who was blocking the Build Back Better Act, because it was actually progressives and leftists who, at least in my opinion, to a fault, supported every single thing that Joe Biden was doing throughout this entire bullshit bad faith negotiation process, okay? It was AOC and Bernie Sanders who were the single biggest champions for Build Back Better and the policies that were within Biden's own agenda. And then you have a handful of corporate ghouls who are right-wingers relative to the American people who step in, okay? Manchin, Sinema, talking specifically about them. They've been the overwhelmingly, face of this opposition, basically, but they are the ones who step in and block Biden's main flagship social spending agenda, okay? Again, against the wishes of their actual constituents. I don't need to, remind you guys of this, but a vast majority of West Virginia Democrats supported the entire $3.5 trillion Build Back Better Act. They supported it in a general sense. They also supported it even more so when you go policy by policy, and you can see here, it's not even really close. Again, with Kyrsten Sinema, we've seen her polling absolutely fall off of a cliff recently after she opposed Build Back Better. You can see here, she's sitting at roughly like 27% approval rating. So, you have these completely unpopular, corrupted, right-wing corporate ghouls within the Democratic Party who have been fighting against the already, neoliberal half-assed $3.5 trillion agenda of Joe Biden, okay? And somehow Obama's conclusion to this entire situation is people are whining too much about the fact that we couldn't get Build Back Better passed. I mean, understand that as of right now, Build Back Better in its entirety is dead, okay? And it's dead thanks to the Joe Manchins and Kyrsten Sinemas of the world. So again, he's just taking the complete opposite lesson from this. You could not have, throughout this entire process, you could not have possibly appeased Joe Manchin or Kyrsten Sinema more than Joe Biden already did, or more than the Democratic Party already did, okay? Even the left flank of the Democratic Party, right? The AOCs of the world, the Congressional Progressive Caucus, they folded, okay? Especially the vast majority of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, they folded on their one red line in the sand throughout this entire negotiation process, which was, we are not going to allow the bipartisan infrastructure bill to be passed without it being attached to Build Back Better. And they ended up being wrong about that, and they ended up giving up their leverage essentially for nothing, because again, Build Back Better is dead, okay? And it's dead thanks to right-wing ghouls within the Democratic Party, not thanks to progressives whining too much. So again, just completely ridiculous. His problem here is not that the policies that would have materially improved the lives of average Americans didn't get passed. That's not his problem. He's perfectly fine with that being dead, but his problem is with the people who are fighting for those policies, okay? So just, completely ridiculous analysis here, but he continues saying, quote, Democrats have a tendency to complain about what we didn't get done rather than talking about what we did, Obama told lawmakers on a strategy call focused on party messaging. So again, what really is the thing that you guys got done? I mean, most of the things that were popular and good within the original stimulus package that was passed at the beginning of the Biden administration, most of those things are already expiring that materially, economically improve the lives of working class Americans. They're already expiring. And that's why you see, Joe Biden's approval rating start to fall off of a cliff. It's because, yeah, you sent out those one-time stimulus checks at the beginning of your administration, but that money runs out pretty quickly, okay? And people will forget about that more than, a year later at this point, basically. But other than that, what else did he get done? I mean, what are you going to go and brag about? The infrastructure plan, the same infrastructure plan that started out looking like this and and then because of your grand centrist bipartisanship ended up looking like this. I mean, a tiny, pathetic handout to corporate America that won't even begin to address the problems with our infrastructure here in the United States. I mean, just completely pathetic. Again, Joe Biden had an opportunity here to be more like an FDR-style president, to, actually do a historic investment in infrastructure that would not only, bring us up to a B+ in infrastructure, which is, this won't even go far enough to do that, but not only bringing us up to an adequate infrastructure or catching us up from the failing and broken infrastructure that we have right now, but he had an opportunity to fight for like actual generational change, right? He had an opportunity, he had the political backing from the American people to go and actually fight for an infrastructure bill, for example, that would have been adequate, that could have given us the best infrastructure in the entire world. And instead, he chose to go with this route of centrist, bipartisan, behind closed doors deal making, and this was the pathetic result. Okay, so again, your ideology that Obama is calling for right here, your political strategy that he's calling for right here, is what's being done right now, and it's been a complete failure. Okay, that's why the Democratic Party is on track to get absolutely obliterated in 2022 and 2024. It's not because of progressives whining about policies that didn't get passed. It's because those policies did not get passed. I mean, this really should not be hard, but their logic is just so inherently flawed and circular in its nature that it's almost like ridiculous to even talk about this in a serious way. But finally, he concludes here basically by saying that he also discussed fighting for the public option as part of the 2010 Affordable Care Act debate, and eventually dropping the provision when it was clear that it could not pass. And the 44th president likened legislating to a relay race, the kind of incrementalism that Obama preached during the presidency. And he says, quote, if we can get some stuff done, some major domestic initiative, some progress on climate, there will come a point where you decide if you are getting nothing or getting that. So first of all, that's the most revealing quote within this entire thing. But just to jump back up, we'll get back to that quote down there, but just to jump back up to the example that he used here on the public option, okay? Understand that in this situation that he's referencing right here, Obama had a virtual supermajority, okay, in the House and the Senate. So he could have passed damn near whatever the limitations of his imagination of what he was willing to fight for. He could have passed whatever the fuck he wanted under Democratic supermajority control, okay? And what did he actually get done? I mean, he's bragging here that he dropped the public option, okay? That was the so-called centrist compromise, okay? He passed a piece of right-wing healthcare legislation that came from the fucking Heritage Foundation, okay? What was Obamacare at the end of the day? Again, passed with zero Republican support at the end of the day, passed with just the supermajority Democratic control that he had at the time. What was the Obamacare? What was the Affordable Care Act? It was an individual mandate system that was originally pushed by guys like Mitt Romney, okay? And it ended up being this gigantic handout to the health insurance companies that didn't even remotely address the core problem with our healthcare system here in the United States, which is the profit motive, okay? So again, you're bragging about the fact that you had all of this political momentum and everybody believed in Obama and he was going to bring about all of this bold economic and societal change, and then you're bragging about the fact that you used that opportunity to do absolutely jack shit with it. I mean, again, this is why the Democratic Party has gotten to the place that it is right now, because people give up on you. You can't be Barack Obama, the man who ran on hope and change and yes we can, and then turn around and be completely pathetic and basically say we are only as good as our most conservative members of our party, and then pretend like that's going to be enough to motivate people to show up and vote for you. It's just not, okay? I'm sorry. People are not going to be motivated to show up to the polls for this half-assed neoliberal infrastructure investment that they won't even feel the effects of, within many, many years from now, if ever, okay? Because again, this doesn't even get us up to a B+ infrastructure, let alone making us, transformative infrastructure within the United States. So what are you exactly running on? And basically, his message can be condensed by what he finishes off here with, okay? Again, if we can get some stuff done, some major domestic initiative, some progress on climate change, again, notice he's not saying we should do everything humanly possible to address the single most catastrophic problem that we have facing us right now as humanity. He's not saying base everything on the science and fight for that in the most bold ways you possibly can. He's saying let's get some stuff done on climate, as if that can be like negotiated with. But he says let's get some stuff done on climate. There there will come a point where you decide if you are getting nothing or getting that. So basically, that's his entire political philosophy, okay? And it seems to be the political philosophy that Democrats are going to be charging full steam ahead with in 2022 and 2024, which is to say, basically, we are the lesser of two evils, right? That's his messaging right there. He's saying voters will have the choice that you're either going to get only bad stuff, or you could show up, hold your nose, and vote for Democrats, and maybe we'll dash a little bit of crumbs out there for you, maybe not. Okay, so that's his messaging, and they think this is a good political strategy. And, at the end of the day, this is exactly why they are, again, on track to get absolutely obliterated in 2022 and 2024. It's really not that complicated, or shouldn't be that complicated if we didn't have all of the corruption that is baked within the U.S. political system that we do have, unfortunately, but it really isn't that complicated, okay? You go out there and you fight relentlessly for policies that are overwhelmingly supported by the American people. If you're Joe Biden, you use the bully pulpit, you go out to Arizona, you go out to West Virginia, you pressure these corrupt motherfuckers to fall in line with your agenda that is overwhelmingly popular. And then even if you fail on that front, okay, you can go and do the executive orders, you can appeal to Americans on that front, you can do all of those things. But even if you fail while fighting for things that are overwhelmingly popular, people will at least see that, okay? It's better to go out there and fail while fighting for things that are overwhelmingly popular and that are desperately needed reforms within this country than it would be to go out there and play this stupid bullshit corrupt bipartisan game where you, at the end of the day, Republicans are still going to call you, radical socialists. They're still going to be disingenuous and corrupt and campaign in the exact same goddamn ways that they would otherwise. And at the end of the day, you get these pathetic watered down half measures that won't materially affect average Americans' lives at the end of the day. So that's the situation Democrats find themselves in. And if they stick in line with what Obama is calling for here, just expect them to get absolutely obliterated in the upcoming elections and to, of course, continue to blame the left for those failures.